Howdy folks. Today we are going to check out the Fearless S8Z. They actually come in quite a nice box comparatively to other Tri-Fi. Looks like this. Cool. Yeah, okay. So we'll just unbox it real quick. Not really a huge fan of unboxings, but got a box, might as well do it. Let's see, what do we got here? No? Wait. Okay, it's magnetic. Nope. Try again, one last time. Alright, here we go. There we go. Okay. Whoa. Let's see. So this is the Smurf color, which is I think the Fearless S10, something like that, shell. I'm not sure how you can order it, but we'll call it Smurf color. It's kind of got like a blue with sort of purple accents, although it's sort of color changing depending on the light. It's kind of hard to see that there, but it does come with a really nice little case. Yeah, oh, very nice. Yep. Like that. And just take this out. Oh, well, here. Do this. And, okay, so I've already unboxed these before, tried them out for a bunch of time, but you know, let's see, let me just go over this stuff. I got a nice little pamphlet right over here. Hello and welcome to things. I'm not really going to mess with it. You don't really need instructions on headphones, I don't think. They have a nice assortment of tips, and I have actually tried quite a few of these. They are excellent. All are wide bores, so they're not going to plug the tips, or block the tips, I should say. So yeah, they're good. No foams in there though. Here, just get this out of the way. And we got our headphones, and you just heard one of the problems with the cable on these, which is that cable is extraordinarily heavy on this thing, the plug. That's a metal desk, and yeah, not ideal, real heavy. Also, just to let you know, splitter, extremely heavy, and also the like chin slider thing, so yikes. And in practice, if you are, like, I don't know, let's see, they basically drag the headphones downwards, right? So they really do put pressure on the cables, and I'm not a fan of that at all. And since this is metal, you're not really going to be able to do anything with it. It's just the way it is. So for active peoples, this cable is a huge fail. For people sitting still, not really that great either. As far as the actual cables go, the wire, it's pretty nice. Here, let me just... and also 2-pin, and they have a really nice strong connection to the headphones, which is sort of recessed just a little bit there. See that? So that's cool. They're not going to fall off your cables. But this cable though, so let's see, got your sort of 45-degree angle 2 pins, and it's kind of a loose braid there, which I think some people don't like, at least after the splitter. And then it's got the tighter weave after. And so you get the idea. Cool cable, but in practice not that usable, shall we say. Yeah. So got some really awesome headphones here. Just say right off, I really like these. They are going to be likely my number 2 set, maybe number 3. I'll get into that a little bit later, but just zoom in a little on these bad boys. Take the tips off. these tips came with it. Fearless has the nice green sort of tip thing going on. We have the 3 bores, and these are 8 BA sets. And they have, let's see, just look at the information here. Sonian 37 series compound bass drivers, not vented. These are not vented IEMs, they're completely sealed. Then we got Sonian 23 series mid frequencies and Knowles SWFK high frequency drivers with a 3-way crossover. So kind of standard stuff. Although the Sonians are kind of definitely newer BAs, and they sound really good, except, and we'll get into that a little, well, they tuned these a little bit, shall we say, towards the treble side, the clinical side, versus fun, warm side. But we'll get into that more. As far as the color, wow. I mean, I love the color on these. Probably my favorite style color of IEMs. The shell's just gorgeous. Just love it. And the fit is second to none on these. The bore is not too large. Let me bring out another pair of large bores. These are also 8BA, so this is a Moondrop A8. And let's see if you can, yeah, maybe something like that. So, oop, come back. So I don't know if you can tell, but that tip is quite a lot smaller than the Moondrop, and I like that. The thicker the tip, the harder it is to get a tip that fits, and blah blah blah. So anyway, just want to give you an example of that. And then, just so you've got another example, we have a Fearless S8F, which, whoops, let's do this, something like that. Try and show you the bore. Anyway, what I'm trying to get to is that the bores are about the same on these, as far as the size, and the fits, I want to say slightly refined, but it's real similar. Both of these fit really nice. So just to give you an idea. As far as the size also, let's see. Wait, let's try and get the right one. There we go. Maybe that'll show you something. So S8Z, S8F, and Moondrop A8. And go for like a side thing here. The Moondrop A8 is a freaking ginormous IEM. So S8F, and then got Z versus F. So pretty similar. And Z versus A8. Not similar. Huge, chunky boy right here. And yeah, the A8s stick out of my ears a bit, so yeah. All right, let's get on. Okay, so let's talk about some sound stuff. Whoops. All right, let's look at a graph. And I really didn't want to pull this graph up, but I had a really hard time finding anyone else with a graph of the S8F. So this is, I think, Tokanru from HeadFi, who does not like me very much because we have very different tastes, and that's just the way it works in this hobby. But on this graph, the blue line is the S8Z and the red line is the S8F. So as you can see with that, they're a little different. I actually do hear the S8Z as being a little refined compared to the S8F, and I don't really necessarily hear it like this graph is showing. I don't know why. So I think the S8Z, like as I hear it, has maybe slightly less bass than this graph, and also I'm not really sure where my sort of hot treble point is, but I feel like the S8Z is less treble hot than the S8F, which from this graph doesn't make a lot of sense. So anyway, I just wanted to pull something up so you had something to look at. And then as far as the cost, we got $589. This is on Linsol's page. You know, they got a bunch of customization options and jazz. And honestly, Fearless is one of the best companies when it comes to quality control, consistency of tuning. I don't think I can recall anyone ever complaining about getting like a bunk Fearless, other than maybe like a broken 2-pin, some kind of minor thing, and then they took care of that. So, but as far as tuning, like sound issues, never heard of a problem. So that's really a good thing. Also, you can see from this, it's actually an orange 3D printed part inside of the IEM, and it's pretty ugly. I don't know why they picked orange of all the colors, but when you have a headphone that is completely opaque, you can't see inside of it, that's kind of nice. So you don't get to see that orange part, which, well, I don't know, I probably wouldn't care because it's in my ears, but I like this better. So anyway, all right, let's talk about some sound. And I, of course, didn't bring up my list yet. Let me grab it. Hang on. Okay. Got a list. All right. So, let's see. All right. I probably have to point at it. Let's see. We have the Fearless S8Z. So, that is on this line right here. And I'm going to talk about it, of course. S8Z right here. Okay, so starting with timbre. I hear the timbre on this as being quite excellent, like as in, oh my God, that's great. It definitely edges toward the clinical side versus warm, say, but it's still pretty fun. So I'm going to give the timbre a 7 out of 10 on my graph. Next we have coherency, which is to say, do all the drivers sort of mesh together, and do they sound like one driver versus 8? And I'm going to give that a 7, which is, oh my God, that's pretty good. That's great. I feel like probably the tuning has some, you know, obviously from the graph, there's a couple peaks in there. To me, that sounds a little less coherent than maybe less peaks, but we'll give it a 7. I really hear it as being quite good. It's excellent to listen to. Okay, so colored sound. I think that this is the best Fearless in terms of color versus accuracy. Give it a 7, which is, oh my God, that's great. It is not necessarily studio accurate, but there's no major problems with the sound that would make me, like, say, not be able to, say, mix with it. Well, although I don't know if I'd mix with the S8Z. It's a little light on bass. We'll get into that. But I do hear it as being pretty tonally correct with some, say, Fearless flair added in there. I would imagine it would be, I'd give a higher score if it was, like, say, a little warmer with a little less OCD detail. That would be a little more accurate. But as is, it's quite good. We'll give it a 7. Next we have any special or magical qualities. And I'm going to flip these numbers. I've been listening to the S8Z for a couple weeks now, and I love them. They're more refined, and although slightly less bass, which I'm a bass head, than the S8F. And this is the thing I've been doing recently, is just throwing in some EQ. 30 hertz, say about 5 to 6 dB. Yeah, I'm a bass head, whatever. That actually, the Sonya and Balanced Armatures and the bass respond really well to EQ. And so I'm quite happy just throwing on a little EQ on the bass, and that turns them into really nice and special for me. So that's probably going to get an 8, which is slightly above, oh my God, that's great. That's just, it's fantastic. Stage get depth. S8Z has quite good depth. Not the best I've ever heard, and definitely not bad at all. It's really good. We're going to give it a 7, which is, oh my God, that's great. Let's see, we got stage wideness, and S8Z is really, really wide. It's among the widest IEMs I've ever heard in terms of, you know, spatial cues, things outside your head. Yeah, so it's going to get a 9 on that, which is just about as good as I've ever heard on anything, really. And then along with that, imaging is pinpoint accurate. Give it a 9. You can pick anything out in a 3D field very, very well. They are not vented, so they don't get any bonus points for pressure relief. Have I been having problems with that? A little, depending on the tips. I'm kind of working that out for myself, though. But again, if I'm hiking and I'm at altitude, I still would have to pull these out and let the pressure equalize. So whatever, they don't get any extra points. Isolating. I'm going to actually bump that up. I had it at a 7. I think it's going to be nearer 8 or a 9. You get good foam tips on these. You shove them all the way in there. They're totally filled. They like pretty much fit my ear almost like a custom. So like it's actually really good. I don't know if that'll work that well for you, but they're really excellent isolation. So probably either an 8 or a 9 in that. And then we get to the big one, the bass. And so if you're coming from an S8F, you will definitely hear the bass as being less. So the S8F, I had originally rated for bass at a, what am I at, 7. And then I rated the S8Z as a 6. And so the F would be like, oh my God, that's great. I really like the bass on that. And whereas the Z is slightly less than I really want to hear. So I'm going to rate it because, you know, we don't use EQ to rate an IEM. Although in my mind, that does influence the special factor or how much I like it. So just to let you know. And these do respond to EQ really well, whereas not every headphone does. So we're going to give it a 6 in bass. And if you EQ that, it's going to turn into somewhere between a 7 and an 8. But that's not official, just to let you know. Mids. So the mids on the S8Z are, in fact, I think better than the S8F. And for some reason, I don't have that right on my graph. It's getting fixed. The mids are going to be probably either an 8. Now, I'm going to give it an 8. It's not as bold as, like, say, an EJ07. It's not a mid-centric set. There is a small V-shape, but is not nearly V-shaped like the S8F. And I like that. The mids are better. So, excellent. S8Z on treble. Yeah, so originally rated this as an 8. The more I listen to it, I think it might go to a 9, possibly. Now, that's not to say that, like, you know, if something rates higher, it has more treble. It's just that if it rates higher, it has better treble. And I do believe the Z has better treble. It's slightly more refined, like a little more airy, a little more resolution than the F. And so we're going to give that, I think I'm bumping that to a 9. I don't really see how you can get much better than treble on this guy. And in terms of the resolution, we'll give it an 8. I think Planner or EST drivers will probably get near a 9 or a 10 on resolution. They're just knocked out of the park, amazing. Binaural quality, I spent a little time with this, and they do pretty good. Probably a 6 out of 10. They have a little extra OCD detail in places that makes, let's go over a little bit here, sorry. A little more OCD detail in places that make binaural stuff not quite as realistic as other sets. It is what it is. And then no special features, nothing else like that. So let me see here. Well, okay, I gotta fix up my numbers on the sides here because I bumped up a few of these numbers. But I'm gonna say that this is in my top 3 sets, could be top 2. So EJ07 is my top set. Probably everyone knows that. I'm an EJ07 idiot. And then the Tantgym Oxygen. That's a one dynamic driver set, and I need to do a review. I'll probably do that after this. It is fantastic. So basically we have EJ07, Tantgym Oxygen, and Fearless S8Z are my top 3s. And I'm not sure if the Z and the Oxygen are going to change places. I tend to be more of a like warm mid-centric guy than OCD treble. The Tantgym Oxygen does that, like, wow, mids are just rich and just glorious, and then it's got a dynamic driver and blah, blah, blah. It's just great. So anyway, top 3, yeah, EJ07, Tantgym Oxygen, and S8Z. Any other things to know? So for the price, other people may have, say, like the Theaudio Voyager 14 on their list because it's got a lot of hype right now. And I can tell you that these don't have as extended of bass in a stock setting as the Audio V14, but I prefer the tonality of these. I can't be super specific as to why. Okay, there is something. These have more of a 3D holographic effect than the V14. Been talking to some other people that own the V14s, and unfortunately, it's kind of a commonality is that they do not have a deep stage. They have one of the widest stages, if not the widest, you could ever find in anything, but the 3D quality is lacking on the V14, and that's actually something I really, really like the more I get into IEMs. So I do like these more than those. I know. It's just everyone's got their taste, but I think these are more 3D, and then they throw in the OCD detail. And I think it's actually really hard to pull off good, airy OCD detail, but also have a 3D holographic stage. There's just something about when they excite the treble, it decreases the holographicness of the stage, and so getting both of those to happen is quite something for an IEM. And so in sort of to my mind right now, that's sort of like the bleeding edge is, can we do OCD detail treble, but also have a really amazing 3D stage? Again, talking to some other folks, we have like something like the QDC Annual VX is supposed to have like the most amazing holographic 3D stage ever, but also a lot of OCD detail, and also over $2,000. These are, almost 600, like 590 or 580 or whatever. So, I mean, apples and oranges, but I think a pretty good value in terms of total tuning. Actually quite a good value. Really, really good value. And then, fit and finish is pretty much second to none. Excellent. So, if you are a person that has heard the S8F and you're saying, well, are these an upgrade? And the answer would be, that's a hard one to stomach, because if you're going to pay literally double, another, $500 to $600, you're not going to get a huge difference in these. I mean, if you just saw the graph up there that I have, it's somewhat minor, but in practice, listening to these, the S8F has more bass, more slam, and the treble is not as refined and as the S8Z, and it's a little hotter, a little more fatiguing for me. I'm not sure which frequency that ends up being, but yeah. Just stick my other 8BA sets. You guys can check that out. Got some of the best 8BA sets on the market right here, I think, for sure. I'm gonna do a review on the S8, Moondrop A8s, these guys, because they deserve a review. And they're old now. They're about almost 2 years old, but fantastic set. Wow. Just a little more eye candy for you guys. Cool. One last thing, the Fearless S8Z is on loan from Linsole. I wanted to make people aware that if you're the type of person that can make a review, and it doesn't have to be super great, but you can trial these from Linsole as long as you do a review on their website. And I don't know, I mean, if it was me and I needed to spend, say, $500 to $600 and I didn't know if I liked something, that seems like a great compromise. Spend a little time, put down your thoughts on paper, and then you'll know if you spend good money on something that you might want. So I love Linsole. They have amazing customer service. Right now, the COVID stuff is causing problems with shipping. It is what it is, but everyone be patient. You'll get your stuff. Have a great day.